Hello, everybody. My name is Graham Gentz. I use he and they pronouns, and I wrote a game called Under the Autumn Strangely. It's a pastoral horror game of anachronistic Americana in a land that never was, and I could not be more excited because I am joined by friends new and old, and we have a full deck here. The game plays 3 to 6, which means of the 3 roles, which I will be talking about, people will be 2 each. So it is gemless. It's each role is equally important, and we will be combining different tones. We will be embracing tonal clash to create the game right in the middle. So I would love to go around and have everybody give a introduction to themselves, as well as where we can find their lovely creative work if they would like. And I'm gonna go to Hans first. Hans, what's going on, Hans?
Hey, what's up, everyone? My name is Hans. My pronouns are they, he. Um, what else should I share? Have been, I've been a gamer for a long time, and I love everything. I really love a lot of what Graham's created. We're very aligned, and love something that forces our minds to be even more strange and glorious and chaotic in all of its ways. And so I'm excited to be here. Um, if you care to find me online, I have a Instagram account that I just share with friends. So if you want to talk about something there, you could just find me at Sir_Ponsius, Ponsius.
And then kick it to somebody.
Oh, who should I kick it to? I'm gonna kick it
There you
to
go. See, choices already.
Sissy. Sorry.
So I'm Cece. I have been playing various TTRPGs for the last 10 years or so. I had a podcast for a little bit, so that was fun. It's called The Drunken Geek, if anyone wants to look for it. And you can find me pretty much anywhere on the internet. I got Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, all the things. I am at C Silencio, Silencio. And I will kick it over to Ryan.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ryan. I'm a game designer, budding layout artist, sensitivity consultant. Got my hands in a lot of little places, but I've been designing for the last maybe 5 or so years. Big thing upcoming is Bug Dish, a game where you get to play traveling bug chefs in mobile kitchens, and you compete in Iron Chef style competitions. There is an Ash 10 version available on my itch, which is rcon.itch.io. But yeah, I've been also collaborating with Graham on a few different things, and that's been really exciting. So yeah, this game is fantastic. I've never had a bad session, and I'm really excited to be playing this also with like 6 people. I'm really excited to see where this goes.
Yeah, Ryan buried the lead. He worked with me on this project. We did art together. He was head for layout, and so of the number of compliments I've gotten on the game, like most of the majority of them, of people immediately being like, "Wow, Graham, I got the game. The layout looks great." Like they've saying that over and over again, which is really great because I could be like, "Well, it's funny you say that because Ryan Kahn is a designer too, and I get to kick them over to him." So very exciting.
I appreciate that. I am going to kick this over to Neil.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tennille Evans-Serino. I am a licensed professional clinical counselor in sunny California, and I support the Bodhana Group. It's a non-profit organization that advocates the use of tabletop gaming, and basically using tabletop gaming for therapeutic and clinical practice. So we support children and learning math and reading, and also socializing, emotional expression, all the mental health things that helps their life. And so I'm super excited to be playing with you guys and supporting the Twitch. And I will bring it over to the last person. Is it Maddie?
Madeline Colley, it's fine.
Madeline Colley, okay.
Yeah, so I'm Madeline Colley, Mads for short, she, they pronouns. I play a lot of TTRPG games. I'm running campaigns of The Between, Brindlewood Bay, Apocalypse Keys, and soon to start a public access campaign. Um, yeah, I fell into this game on the Plus One Experience channel, and I loved it. And I, in fact, ran it for the Shared Hearth event for Open Hearth gaming community, and it's been a blast. So I'm very excited to play this game yet again, and with Graham and all of you. So this is going to be fun. Oh, you can find me on X as well as Discord and on YouTube as Madeline Colley. Yep.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of facilitation of this game, which for me is very exciting, because I get to teach the game and then players run it on their own, which is for me the very satisfying thing. The games that I like to write and design are very decentralized in terms of power structure, and if there is a hierarchy, I like it to be as thin as possible. So because I wrote the game, I very much believe in all of these different things like death of the author or there being a true right way to do it. And so the idea that me being placed into it, even as a fellow player, often means that things can get warped around that. But not today. Today I'm with all of my lovely friends and we're going to have a great time. Very excited to do this because we're here on Rook and Ras, but there's a third thing that we might be missing. You might notice there's no John. That's because he's been bricked into a basement somewhere because I tricked him. I've been plotting for years and now his Twitch is mine. You nor anyone will ever, ever see him again. Very excited about that. And I'm excited to share that with all of you live here on the stream. So, Under the Autumn Strangely. There are 3 roles in it, essentially. You have the Traveler, you have the Arcadian, and you have the Terror. Essentially, the premise is that you have people who are lost in this land that never was. It is autumnal. It is surreal. It is being lost over another hill, a dusty road, not knowing what's in those woods, but being compelled. Something is not quite right, sneaking over the edge. So I'm going to briefly talk about each of these roles because with 6 of us, there's going to be 2 of these each. And so after I describe them, I want you very much thinking about just gut feeling. The first thing, oh, wow, that absolutely sounds like me. So the first off is the Traveler. The Traveler is very much the point of view characters for our tale that we're going to be collaboratively telling. They are not from the Never Was. That's their most defining feature. And you get to kind of fill in what that is. They're the closest thing to a traditional PC in the game. And later on, I'm going to talk about the way narration occurs, which I describe as the principle of narrative truth. And I'm going to get into that more after the roles. But the basic idea being that you can describe freely what you do, what you see immediately. You have the complete power to do that as the travelers from your perspective. So it's going to be my character sees this, my character does this. And so you are able to create detail in the world as long as it's your character. I see a lantern swinging on a branch. That didn't exist before in the narrative, but now it does fully for everyone and is true. So if you very much want to tumble headfirst into a land of unknown and wonder, then the Traveler is for you. The second is the Arcadian. The Arcadian is very much the Never Was itself, as well as the many denizens who live there, who are native to this undefined place that we now find ourselves in. The many inhabitants may be odd, but not necessarily dangerous. And so this is the closest thing to a traditional MC that you'll find in another game. You have no limitation on perspective. And so you are free to create the world. And although not exclusively, you will be responsible for playing many of the people, the creatures, the intelligences that we might find. Everybody is able to kind of play with this, but this is kind of assumed more than told direct out that it's going to be your role. So if you very much like to paint with a wide tonal brush and you like plain NPCs like jazz solos, then the Arcadian is for you. And I said, of course, that the denizens, right? The inhabitants of this place, they're not necessarily dangerous, but there is something that's wrong in the Never Was. There's something that's creeping behind every interaction that occurs, and that is the terror. As the terror player, you are that thing where somebody describes something, there's this implied ellipsis, and there's something that's not quite right about that. So as we're all building upon the same narrative, and in terms like literal truth as we create it, you're the one that's kind of like twisting the knife ever so slightly. You're intended to build over time. You brood and you become this thing. Perhaps you're a physical entity, perhaps not. It's up to you to decide. You don't have to tell us. But somewhere near the end of the game, perhaps there's an entity that reveals itself. But again, it's totally up to you. So if you like to build and whisper in your friends' ears and plot, then the terror is absolutely for you. So the Traveler, the Arcadian, and the Terror. Just gut response, good friends. What sounds like what you would like to play today? I think Mads was already like, has played 2 of the roles, which is exciting, and wanted to play the Traveler. Is that correct, Mads?
That is correct. Want to complete the set.
Well, that sounds like a reasonable enough answer to me. What are the other gut feelings that people have in terms of what sounds like what they want to play? Not in general, but like right now. What's like speaking to you at this exact moment, you know?
I'm feeling Arcadian or Terror, so if anyone is feeling stronger on the...
All right, so we got a cuspy one, which is great.
It's true.
I always like the people who are like, boom. I have found that when I facilitate this, the Terror players tend to be very vocal, because the people who are like, yes, I want to be creepy and mess with my friends, those people are very self-assured, and I always appreciate that.
I'm curious what CC is interested in playing, because as I
Sure.
understand it, this is your first time playing.
This is my first time playing. And I'm kind of also on the cusp of either the Traveler or the Terror. I have kind of ideas for both, and I don't really know where I fall there.
Yeah, I mean, those are great roles to play for your first time, because the Traveler, you will be falling in, and everybody will kind of swirl in this this tonal melange around you. And the Terror, you get to kind of take your time and choose your pacing, so you very much feel like you're just like poking in at once. But of course, that's just a style that people adapt. So both would be very, very good. And if you have kind of the beginnings of ideas, that's great too.
Okay.
Um,
Let's see. I'm gonna flip a sticker. I don't have a coin.
all right, flip a
We're
sticker.
gonna go. Heads is Traveler. Tails is Terror. Heads. We're Traveler.
Traveler?
Yep,
Nice.
Traveler.
Great, fantastic. Fantastic. We have our 2 travelers. And so we have Hans, Tennille, Ryan, and myself.
I'm gonna
What's your
go
gut saying? What's your heart saying?
Arcadian.
Beautiful. Tennille, you are an Arcadian. I couldn't have said it better myself. All right. What do you want?
I want to be a Terror. I want to be a Terror.
Yeah. Oh man, I love the assertiveness that happens every time when people are like, "Yes, my time is now." So
when I've played before,
so Hans,
I love the Terror.
I think I'm gonna follow CC's route, and I'm gonna just flip a pin because that's what's closest
Right.
available.
great.
And I am also an Arcadian.
Ooh, Ryan, that means that you and I are the Terrors. I couldn't be more
this is gonna
excited.
be
Okay,
fun.
I'm already terrified.
so excited. So excited to do this. Okay, so
Prepare
prep is
yourself.
death.
Prepare yourself.
I'd love to say prep is death. The meaning of prep is death in RPGs is that please listen to your players. Players are not empty vessels for story to be subjected onto. By prepping something beforehand too elaborately, you forget the agency, and perhaps if somebody says, I want to do this thing, you will feel like you're being disrupted. And of course, that's not what I want. I want people to find the space. One of the ways I describe my game design philosophy is I like making buckets, and then I ask people to fill it up. So I'm going to describe these buckets to you now, because we're going to create the Never Was in this time together. We all have equal and shared ownership over the details we're going to have. So from Traveler, Arcadian down to Terror, there are 3, 2, and then 1 details that each role will need. So let's start with the Travelers first, because they have the most details. And also they're the only ones who are going to share these details during setup. So the first set of details I need from you Travelers is the most basic stuff. So name, age, pronouns. Okay. The second is how do you see yourself? And then how do others see you? I've intentionally made this kind of vague, so it's kind of metaphysical. It might be literally physical. how do you see yourself, or how do you appear, or how do others see you? I can repeat this as well as the last one, but essentially it breaks down into, again, how do you want to answer this question? How are you choosing to define your character? How do others see you, and how do you see yourself? And then finally, the last detail that I need from the travelers: what were you doing just before you became lost in the Neverwas? Would you like me to repeat or clarify any of those three details, my good travelers?
I don't think so.
No, should be good.
Killer. So, great. With your paper and pencil, or maybe digitally, wow, we're 2023, am I right? You can write this stuff down, and I will be back with you in a moment, because sharing those details is going to be part of setup as well. Hello, Arcadians. Happy to see you. So, you are going to probably be taking a lot of the responsibility of tone and imagery. And so that's what you're going to brainstorm. Unlike the details of the travelers, this is largely just for you. These are going to come out whenever you wish in play, and there's not a designated time where you say, these are the details that I came up with. So, what I want you to do is brainstorm two images, essentially. The first is a autumnal um, uh, um, pastoral image. So something like changing leaves, a dusty road, peeling red paint on a barn. So something autumnal and or pastoral. The second image I would like you to brainstorm is a surreal agrarian image. So something like very large vegetables or human hearts growing from a tree. Both agrarian, but also surreal. And so you're going to think about these two images, and you're going to write them down, place them in there, because at whatever you wish, as you are painting with your word brush, you're going to throw perhaps some of these in, or it's going to help you get started on where you would like the kind of images you want to pull. Hey, Ryan. What's up,
Hey, Graham.
man? What's
Feel
going on,
pretty good. How are
Ryan?
you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I'm very excited, Ryan. You know why?
Why is that? Why is that?
Oh, 'cause no one can hear us right now, and we're the terrors. Okay? Nobody can hear us, just you and me, right? The great thing about the terror is that you and I individually are the only roles that get to conspire with our setup. So perhaps a little texting in order. The terrors are going to come up with a single word theme that will broadly take their narration. So something like blood, bone, light, earwigs, teeth. Um, and while everybody else is kind of like doing that on their own, we can be like, okay, well, if I'm earwigs, do you want to be teeth? And then we high five, right? When this is not an additional space, I very much enjoy the idea of the two terrors in the corner giggling and whispering to each other, because it immediately starts to create this feeling that I'm looking for, right? That there's like something going on that you don't quite know what it is. So pretty easy. You can immediately start sending me private messages that no one else can see, not even the internet. Very exciting. And we can decide what our themes are going to be. And I'm going to wrap back around. Travelers, are you still working on your details? And if you are, that's okay. I can riff about anything for as long as you want.
I think we have our details. I'm like just wanting to know
Killer.
how old Cece's character is.
Well, we're going to find out.
Yeah.
Are both of you ready with your
If you're ready, I'll riff off of you.
Yeah, I can do mine first, and then we can jump
Great.
to yours.
Yeah.
So my character, his name is Ewan.
You in? Great.
He is 22, and his pronouns are he, him. Do you want me to hit all 3 points right now, or do we want to?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Perfect. So Ewan is very tall. He's like 6'1", 6'2", real skinny. He's got a shock of like curly, bright red hair. And to other people, he looks just kind of gangly, maybe a little clumsy. He sees himself as super cool. He just thinks he's the best. And his best friend is his dog. His dog is named Bex. And the way that Ewan ends up stumbling into the that never was is Bex got out. And so he's out. He's carrying a leash around, looking for his pup. Bex is a
Perfect.
golden
Perfect.
retriever. Important detail.
Ewan and Bex. Wonderful. All right, cool. What you got, Mads? Let's hear about your traveler.
Yeah. So I'm playing Janice. I am Ewan's irascible aunt. About 60 something. People don't really know. They don't want to get too close to find out. And so, yeah, Janice, she, her, again, 60 something. And people see her as, yeah, distant, somewhat capable. And she's just tired inside as she worries about Ewan, her nephew, and just was willing to drive him around. I mean, he suffered a great loss, and now we were on this road trip to try and become closer, and the dog got out. Darn thing. And now we're looking for this dog on this road that leads to who knows where. And that's my character.
Wonderful. Yes, I can see Janice very well. And of course, the masterful voice work, as always, so deeply appreciated. Great. So I'm going to talk in brief about a few of the mechanics. I tried to drop the link to my itch, but it looks like John is still controlling the back end of the stream from the hole in the basement that I bricked him into. Really, just I'm looking for a visual because I'm going to describe essentially the way that the mechanics work and the relationship mechanically between the three roles. So I talked in passing about it, and this is where I'm going to begin. But first, there's always the safety tool stuff, and already we're sharing things, and I found the compulsion for me to O-card people. And what's the O-card? Well, safety tools are important in role-playing games, particularly if we don't know each other, and especially in con settings, because you're looking to create space at the table that is democratized and is collaborative in all things. And slowly but surely, different safety tools have occurred, such as the X card, which has been kind of moved over from Nordic LARPs. Oftentimes at a table, there'll be a little X on the card, and if somebody doesn't want something to happen in the game, it's minor, major, everything in between. It's removed, and there's no discussion about it. It could be spiders. It could be something far worse. But the best part about it is the idea that you never get told or questioned about the use of the X card. Hey, man, why'd you do that? And for me, the best part of the X card is the discussion about it. Is you're getting people used to the idea that everybody has ownership. There's not just some DM in a Gygaxian tower, right? Like hiding behind their DM screen, that kind of stuff. And so the X card, of course, is a kind of a imperfect tool. You can put an X card in the chat, in our personal chat. You can do this here. And that's why things like lines and veils have appeared. Lines and veils is a great tool. Essentially, a line is something that will never come up in the game. A veil is something that will only be out of scene or immediately faded out. But what I found in my games was that there was this kind of heavy toll that would occur when you made a list of the worst things you can possibly imagine altogether, right? Just truly horrific stuff. And especially if you're trying a game that's mixed tone like ours. A little get concerning, but also silly, but also whimsical, like all of these different things. It's a little hard to share that emotionally vulnerable space with people. And so initially as a joke, which has evolved into another thing, I started at my table doing the O card, which is of course the opposite of the X card. It's in the rules, it's in the book. And like the X, you can make a little O, and I make little O symbols for people at the tables, and they can press it like a big button. The O card very much represents enthusiastic consent. The O card is also a great way to encourage without interrupting. There were many moments in CC and Mads things where I was like, I love this detail, but of course I don't want to interrupt them. And so on stream, I'll just be like this, I'll drop an O, and you there at home, desperately trying to find which basement I've bricked John into. You never will. No one will ever find him. You can drop O's into the chat. to encourage and love all of you. Because as you are in this negative, weird, terribly awkward thing, which is role playing, it is wonderful to look around the table and see people hitting their O's or giving O's. Because especially in horror settings, it feels good to know, oh yes, I can hit the brakes. Or the gas, rather. The opposite. That would be the X card. So yeah, that's the O card. So please, there's so many O's that I'm already excited about all your characters. So that's the important part. The principle of narrative truth is the kind of the base level which all of this works. Unlike other role-playing games where there is a facilitator or it's a tennis match between how you create, what do I do? What do I see? And you make suggestions, right? Or you make offers essentially within the narrative. You have full power. All three roles, Traveler and Arcadian and Terror, all are same thing in present tense. And if it doesn't exist prior, you can create it. And so everybody is yes-anding. There's this, hey, Hans, do you have the book there? Do you want to hold up the middle of the book? You've had it before. Right there in the middle are the three roles, and there's arrows between each of them. Everyone is continually yes-anding everything that happens. So I said before, the lantern, swinging on the branch, right? So let's say one of the travelers, let's say Janice says, I see a lantern, and it's swinging on a branch. And then an Arcadian might be, and there's orange light pouring from it. And then Ryan might say, but there's a deep crack in the middle of it, and it shakes from the effort within. All of these things are true, and they don't contradict the other. You've built on each one. And very much the Terror are from this perspective, an unknown observer. The Arcadian is free to talk generally about tone, can zoom in perspectives, can also be from many of the strange intelligences we may find. You could that's okay, Hans. You could thank you. You're wonderful, and I appreciate you. Though you muted and I can't hear
You're
whatever
muted.
beautiful.
I was trying to do my Vanna White thing. It was so hard.
You were great, but I missed your face was the problem. I was like,
I know.
where's Hans? I know. So that is the way that works. However, there are tokens, which I call change. There is a relationship between each of these roles, which you can actually change, not yes and, but no but. A detail in which you interrupt that flow of continual adding. And this is how you create the tonal clash and embrace it. Well, how do you create these things if everyone has equal power? Well, you can start to kind of saw off the edges where you wish, and based on where you are in the game. There is a chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 3 hidden that. We talk about that later. But how you use change and how the game evolves based on where you kind of press those pressures in terms of tone. So essentially, what works like this: you have a limited number. Early on in the game, the Traveler is going to have quite a lot. It's going to have 3 because they're just starting into the story. However, the Terror has the ability to contradict or no but the Traveler. It might go something like this. The Traveler says, okay, I have a sandwich and it's full of delicious homemade jelly, and I take a huge bite. And the Terror, Ryan or I, and of course, because we're sharing a digital space, I'm going to ask people to shove their little tokens into the camera, and then they vanish out. We all love pointless theatricality here. Ryan might say, no, when you bite into that sandwich, you realize that it's not actually jam, but in fact, it's blood. We've already used the principle of narrative truth to say this is true, and using change, you can go back essentially one step and say no and change something deliberately about it. Everything else is additive. So if you're continuing to embellish, that's not a contradiction. But if you pull something out and replace it with that thing, then you're using change. But it only goes one direction. The Terror can contradict the Traveler very much because the Traveler is new to this world, and the Terror is building in power. This is what this represents. However, the Traveler can contradict the Arcadian. This represents the idea that the Travelers are desperately trying to get a bit of familiarity, a bit of normalcy in this strange world. So if something's happening, you can no but and change something, and so maybe kind of bring it a little more whimsy or bring it into that focus. And of course, the Arcadian is the only role that can no but, that can contradict the Terror. This represents the idea that the Terror is still very much of the never was. And so the only kind of force, literal or non-literal, that is able to deal with the Terror, even as it is assumed to be gaining strength, that is the Arcadian itself. So you can also kind of offer sort of a backdoor help to the Traveler in that kind of way, right? So if the terror is inflicting all of these awful things upon the traveler, I don't know if that's going to happen. Who knows? I don't know who's playing the terror of this game. You're able to come in and kind of mess with those things, those details. This will make more sense within flow of game. So rather than questions, clarifications, always in demos, the best way to learn is to start doing it, which is why I like parsing these out. Are there individual clarifications that anyone would like about stuff that I've said that won't that of course like the act of play will help clarify anyways. I'm seeing a lot of pursed lips and shaking heads, which is great. That's what I love. Oh, thumbs up even. Yeah. Heck yeah. Oh, I love this. Wonderful. Okay. So the last thing I'm going to talk about is the section of chapters. There is a chapter 1, a chapter 2, and a chapter 3 that is not necessarily linear. It is just a naming convention because they're also known as the Arcadians chapter, the Travelers chapter, and the Terrors chapter. The difference between these chapters are who is responsible for setting the scene, which I'm going to get to in a second, asking a great question, and then how much change you possess. So, for example, at the very beginning, the Traveler is going to have the most because I have 3, but the Terror players, of which you will have each individually, so we'll have the least. So we'll probably start off with an Arcadian chapter. That means you Arcadians are going to be responsible for an opening narration, and I'm going to get to that in a second. But the Travelers are going to have 3 change. You start with 3 change each, and the Terrors will only have 1. So sad. But if we keep moving and get all the way to the end to a Terrors chapter, the Terrors chapter is special because it is the only time that a Terror can decide to physically reveal themselves if they are in fact a literal entity, and then it will be switched, in which the Terror will start with 3 change, and the Traveler only has 1 each. So scary, so sad. There is setup for each chapter, which is taken by the role of which it is named after, in which a couple things will be set by those roles. So my Arcadians, wave to the people at home, Arcadians. You're the folks who are going to be doing that first. So between the two of you, you are going to think of a question. This is a question that is going to be answered within the scene. That is what we were going to, as players, attempt to get to by the end of the scene. So usually something open-ended is better than yes or no. Something like, so what does live up in the attic? Or what happens when people go into the cornfield? We are attempting to answer that question through play. Okay, so in the back of your mind, you're going to be thinking about a question. I also have a lovely playlist because music and Americana very much influence both the design and the aesthetic of this game. But of course, John, I'm hearing these muffled sounds from the I'm not going to say which boiler room. There's of course issues with copyright. So rules is written. What you do is you describe a piece of music. So essentially, what happens is that this big long playlist of folk and blues and gospel that very much of this era inspired the kind of tone that I like. And so if you're sitting around the table, that role plays a song, and everybody listens, and at a moment of their choosing, you jump into an opening narration. Imagine very much like a voiceover before either like a film or a TV show. And 2 things that you're looking for in this opening narration is where are we physically, and what's happening. So this is very much your chance to step into a narrator's point. In the Travelers chapter, it's going to be first person from the Travelers, and the Terrors, of course, will also be first person. But the Arcadians can be anywhere they want. So again, it's painting tone, it's placing us where we are, and you end your narration by asking that question. That question you've thought of is the last thing that you say. So rather than play music, we're just going to describe a piece. Right? It could be totally fictitious. You could be talking about a scratchy record. You could be talking about, a mournful cello, anything like that. But again, we're looking to collaboratively create this tone. And you have 1 piece, and we're all going to put it together. That was a lot there at the end. I will repeat anything and everything, especially after a short break, which I'll see if I'll plug in John's lights for a second so he has a bit of access to his board there in one of the boiler rooms. I definitely didn't hear a muffled sound below me saying that was okay. And before we do that, broadly, are there any clarifications you want now before the break? Because of course you can ask after as well if you want.
No.
Seeing some shaking heads. I'm seeing some pleased smiles. I'm seeing some mouthed words from Hans. Always the tragedy that it is. Okay, so we're gonna take a short break. 5 or 10 minutes. What do you think, John? John, 5 or 10 minutes. Great. Okay, the muffled sounds of screams say 10 minutes. So I will see everybody back in 10 minutes. I look forward to it then. Hello, and
Hello.
welcome back to Graham Gentz presents Rook and Rasp. No semicolon, no more John. If you didn't join us, if you're joining us now, we're very excited to play Under the Autumn Strangely with new friends and old. It's a pastoral horror game of anachronistic Americana in a land that never was. And we've done some setup, and we're going to jump in, and I'm going to clarify some safety tools as we jump in as well. Lines and Veils is an excellent kind of connective tool. The X card and the O card are very much action-based, and the Lines and Veils is very much a discussion, which everybody gets fully on board with the kind of content they want to have. So you have a list of lines, you have a list of veils. In lines, it's things that will never ever come up for any reason. My line that I always have in my games is sexual assault. It'll never come up in game, in scene, out of scene for any reason. A veil I often define as two ways. Either it's off in the world, so it's like out of scene. You understand that it exists, but we just want role play as it. Or as soon as it comes up, you like fade out immediately. The fade out is often a key. Like if we stumble into something, we're like, okay, well, we just don't fixate it. We move on. And so often most of the isms I will have as my veils, just as an example. Like if we're in a city, like I don't mind the idea. In fact, it's important sometimes to talk about sociologically the stuff that can exist in a city that racism kind of makes certain things work. But I really have no interest in role playing through a scene, where like people are treated a certain way in a public space. But of course, these can be lines too. I often like modeling this behavior on streams with everybody saying it, but the best thing about safety tools is making sure that your players feel safe. So in this space, oftentimes I will get private DMs, or if I'm at a con game, I'll have everybody write in things on pieces of paper, and then I'll mix them up, and then I'll make a big list. But what we have here is people have sent these lists. If people want to talk about more of these things, they can. So lines won't come up for any reason. So we have sexual assault, animal torture, pregnancy, miscarriage, abortion, transphobia, homophobia, graphic gore. I think that's what we got. So this is again the importance of the O card. We're going to list these awful things all in a row, and then we're going to jump in and try and have the space. And it is possible. I'm a firm believer in us being able to be both safe and enjoy these things, even with listing just the worst things that we can imagine. Right. So those are lines. They're never ever going to come up. And for veils, it looks like we got spiders, which is great. All things are equal. The other thing about lines and veils is it's not a contract. You can't be like, oh, come on. If somebody puts it on, it's true. And the final safety tool that works well in conjunction, the kind of final piece is the open door policy. You can leave for any reason, any of the players, please. It can be any reason. It can be personal, private, public. It can be water. It can be bio break. It can be like, you know what, I don't want to be here for this. This is a final step because not only am I empowering you to leave, if you want to or need to, or just, for any reason, but it is good to do so. And you don't owe anybody at this table anything. Not any of the players, not me, not John, and certainly not anyone else. If you do it, it's a good thing, and I'm happy that you'll do it. If it's sudden, I may check in with you to make sure that you're okay, but nobody's going to chase after you and be like, where are you going? You have to come back. So that's the open door policy and our lines and veils. Does everybody understand and agree to the lines and veils as we have them? I see some big old enthusiastic consents. Big fan of that because now we have the O card. And so we have the list of things we don't want. And then as we are narrating openly, we can see, oh, this is the thing that these nice people, these new friends, want more of, which is always a very exciting feeling to have. Great. So let's do the travelers again. Very briefly, could you tell us the details? We can all place who you are and what your details are. Your names, your general descriptions, and then what you were just doing. And then Arcadians, I want you to be thinking about one of you is going to ask a question. Maybe one of you can describe the piece of music, right? Because we're going to jump in and we're going to do an Arcadian chapter, chapter 1, to begin. So, travelers, please share with me the details that you came up with to kind of prime our collective hallucination that we're all going to share in.
Absolutely. So I am playing Ewan. He is 22 years old. He is tall, red hair, and he is currently looking for his dog Bex. He's on a road trip with his aunt, Aunt Janice, and they stopped at a little roadside pit stop area, use the bathroom, take the pup out to go potty, didn't get the leash on properly, and boom, Bex was gone. Now we gotta go find her because we can't just leave her out there.
Great. Great.
And I'm playing Janice, who's 60-something, and iron gray hair with like some streaks of pure white. And yeah, just distant, but at least to her nephew and to other people. But for the most part, I mean, she's always worried about him because he does silly things like this. And so she feels that she has to be along and just watch over him because as tall as he is, he's just finds it rough to get around, and then she's so small in comparison that she can maneuver her way through things. But yeah, she's tired. All this worry is just making her feel even older.
Fabulous. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I alluded to this a little bit, and now I'm going to codify it completely. A chapter ends when 3 things are true. Okay, the first is the question is answered at the beginning of each chapter. Whoever is responsible is going to select a piece of music, have a narration saying where we are, what's happening, and then finally end with a question. And our goal as players, not characters necessarily, but players, we are attempting to answer that question. So if we have decided, yes, I think that answers the question, that is the first thing that has to be true. The second is that one role has no change left. Each, because we're splitting up, it can be a little flexible in terms of you're not going to split it. So, for example, in the opening in the Arcadians chapter, the traveler is going to start with 3 change each. So both Janice and Ewan are going to have 3 and 3. And it kind of assume that it's like a shared pool. It's a little easier in person, but whatever is the simplest possible. The goal is to not worry about, oh, is this mine? Is this yours? Where's it going? And when you get past a piece of change, it enters into your pool. You can use it to continue to do stuff. So first, the question is answered. So you don't literally have to see it happen. This is kind of like the wiggle room in which we can then pull out of scene, and then as players discuss, I think that answers the question. Does everyone kind of agree, right? We're building consensus. So what is really up in the attic? We don't have to like see the thing or fight the thing, but if somebody's like, oh, I'm fairly certain that answers the question, we don't need to actually see the thing to know the answer, right? So 2, one role has no change left. And then finally, 3, a player calls for a fade out. This is kind of just like it's like a safety valve. If we've already answered the question and we look over and we see that one role has no change, but we're still kind of filling out a moment, we're kind of searching for that button at the end of the scene where we go, you can. It's not like the scene is just magically over the instant this happens. So the third thing is any player can call for a fade out. If there's a moment, an image, a line, literally anything, and any player can say, I think that's it. I think that's our scene. And then we fade and then reassess and then we see what the next chapter will be. In the book, you can see the system of chapters. 1, 2, 3 is certainly the easiest, but not necessarily so. You can jump straight to 3. You can go back between 1 and 4. You can think of it again like episodes in a serial or any way that you want. It allows you to create both the pacing of the story as well as real life time. Oh, I have to go, guys. I need to go home because real life is calling, or everyone's just tired. So again, this other little thing about what is role playing games. What a weird thing this is. In between every chapter, there is a rules as written check in to decide where do we want it to go, what sounds true, and do we have real world needs. So we're going to keep doing that because it's my stream now. John can't tell me what to do anymore. Thank God. 10 whole years he's been telling me what to do, and not anymore. With that in mind, we're going to start with
You're
the
not bitter.
Arcadians chapter.
You're not bitter.
Not anymore, I'm not. The sweet, sweet taste of a macchiato. So, travelers, you're going to start with 3 change. So go ahead and get 3 little bits. There's nothing ominous about the bits that I've chosen today. Arcadians, you're going to start with 2 each. So give yourself 2 little bits. And terrors, so sad, we're going to start with 1 each. And again, the terror can contradict the traveler can contradict the Arcadian, and the Arcadian can contradict the terror. And it just passes in. Everything else is yes and. So I'm going to leave this up to you, Arcadians, how you want to split your duties. Very much you're going to be like, it's like jazz solos together, right? So like I play a riff and you play a riff. It's really all that you want to do. There's no wrong way literally to do it. Some people really like lining up, okay, you're going to describe the music, and then I'm going to do a bit, and then I'm going to ask the question. Basically, we just need a piece of music to be described, the opening narration to be either one or both of you, establishing where we are and what's happening. And then finally, you ask the question, and we're off. That's it. Any final clarifications before we jump into this?
We've already determined this, so we're just gonna dive in and let you guys see
Brilliant.
what happens.
Tennille, I want to
I
change
can't wait.
one thing. Let's end with the question together.
Yeah, and you can end them with the question. I'm good with that.
Don't you want to say it? I think Hans wants you to say it in unison.
Mhm.
Is that what you're asking for, Hans?
Oh, let's do
Yes.
it together. Okay, I'm good with
You
that.
know,
That sounds fun.
pointless theatricality. You're after my heart. You know, just like anything else we
As
can do to
always.
have fun, right? Like it's all part of the game, right? So by all means, whenever y'all are ready.
Okay, fantastic. So we start with Ewan and Janice in a red station wagon driving on a long road, looking for the dog, right? Calling out. And all around you, you see meadow on the left of you and on the right of you. And it's a warm afternoon. It's about 85 degrees. And then for some reason, the car stops. And you're not sure what's going on. But the camera is going to pan past that car, and a few feet further up, you notice that the grass is not as green. It's a lighter shade of green, and there's like tints of red at the tips of them. There's this beautiful autumn green looking grass with red tips. And then further up, it kind of slopes up just ever so slightly. And then further up even more into this lonely hill out in the distance. And the camera continues to zoom in even further. And you see an apple tree of golden, delicious apples, this gorgeous, bright green, yellowish color. And it's right beside a house. Hans is going to describe the rest of it.
As you
Oh,
look
and I
at
didn't
this,
talk about the music. I'm sorry,
I
I
got
totally
you.
forgot about
As you look at
Okay,
this
cool.
house, the silence that you were embracing, the sounds of autumn, you start to hear sounds similar to what you'd expect in like the beginnings of Afrobeat music, what you would hear with like the strong calls and the hoss as like people are saying their sounds, and you're looking at this house that is much larger than you expect with this tree with golden delicious apples, and you hear the sound of branches being swept by the wind creaking against this house. And as you look closer and you look at the way this house is built, it seems to be made of masks. You see individual faces looking back at you, and you feel your heart quiver as you approach closer and feel the mystery in front of you. The music crescendos, and you hear the yelps and the screeching and the calls of a larger collective of people drawing you towards this mystic place. And that's
Ready? Our question.
it. Mhm.
What
What
is behind
behind
the
the
mask?
mask? This is hard with the delay, but we did it.
Oh yeah,
What is behind the mask?
It's all right. There's like a weird harmony going on.
I liked the harmony.
It's
It was
part-
very musical.
I think it worked with the audio cue of the voices and
Uh-huh.
so that was good. Big
Great.
Okay. Travelers approach.
Yeah, your car has stopped, travelers.
Ah. How? Oh, I guess.
You can
Sorry, I'm
say.
getting
Yeah,
very.
you got it already.
I get
You're
to
already there.
decide.
You sure
We're
do.
already at the house. Oh my gosh.
So from the perspective of your character, so Ewan, you can be like, Ewan does this, I see. You can do anything you want,
Yeah.
right?
So I'm going to be approaching this house, kind of moving towards the tree specifically. If there is one thing that I know about Bex, it's how much she loves apples. And so obviously she's probably over here. I'm gonna be kind of searching around. Bex, come here. Trying to like find her any trace of my poor begotten pup.
And Janice will be following you and kind of like grabbing your arm and saying, "Wait, wait, 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 wait. What are you doing? This could be on somebody's property. You heard them. You heard that music. You can't be going over there. We have to be cautious here. I know you're looking for your pup, but
Janice, as
not."
you're talking, you feel apple like hit your foot, and you notice that it has a bite mark in it.
And this apple is particularly juicy, almost dripping, oozing with some of that fresh, delicious juice.
I have to ask a question. Is it a human bite or a dog bite into the
You
apple?
you say, Mads. What does
Okay.
Janice see?
Mm-hmm.
Or you can't tell, right?
Yeah, can't tell. I mean, I can see it's like it's glistening in this sunny day, and it's hot. And I, damn it, I don't think we ran out of water a few miles back. Ah,
Both of you
okay.
realize, Janice, Ewan, your mouths are so dry, your throats are so dry. And you look around and you can see that further from the car, trees, the leaves are changing colors, but there's no reds, no yellows. All the leaves are this deep black and brown. The trees are dying, and you could not be more thirsty.
And you can't help but notice how delicious, how golden this tree looks.
I don't know about you, but I'm kind of parched. What if we asked the people who live here if we can take some apples? You're the one
Let's
that said we might be trespassing, so like, may
yeah,
as well ask.
that sounds a lot more polite. She's starting to look like she's bit worn and looking tired. The lines in her face are deeper. And all right, well, let's go tentatively together and just make sure that they're gonna be okay with us doing that. We don't want to
Okay.
be stealing anybody's property.
Okay, and Ewan's gonna put his arm out so that they can link and he can help her walk.
Thank you.
Since there doesn't really seem to be much of a path out here, it's just this pasture.
Green grass with red tents.
Yeah,
And
this
as
terrifying
as
pasture.
as you approach this house and you get closer, you start to see all of the different individual masks that create this house. And all of them are really unusual. Some of them look like they might be from maybe a Mayan descent. Some look like they might be from Egyptian or from some other culture that you've never experienced. They have these weird carvings on them, and you feel like something's watching you. And some of the eyes seem to look like, even when you move, that it's following you, but that's not true, could it?
And the ones that are following, out of the corner of your eye, if you were to pay attention, it almost looks like they're crying.
Right, as we approach this door, I'm gonna look around for perhaps a doorbell or a knocker, and in the process of reaching for the doorbell that's there, um,
You notice that the
Ewan's
doorbell is a very tiny mask. Very tiny mask. And as you are close to the door, you see that the knocker appears to be one of the few masks you recognize, and it appears to be Guy Fawkes, and you can knock the mustache.
The button to the doorbell is within the mouth of the tiny mask.
Oh
uh Ewan's gonna fumble in his pockets for his keys. And he's gonna kind of examine this doorbell, this mouth.
Well, put your
And
finger in
then
there, boy.
I may not be particularly smart. However,
I wasn't saying that, but I wouldn't
you
even do it.
you don't. I'm aware. I live with me all the time. I'm aware. And he's gonna pull whatever the the largest key from the ring, and he's gonna use it to ding dong.
The teeth
The-
bite down on the key and they do not let go. It is stuck.
Damn it!
I again may not be the smartest. Perhaps we should that way.
Back to the car.
as you turn away, what you thought was a ding dong, you hear the screams once again, and you hear much more of a
Can you make the sound again a little closer to your microphone?
yeah.
It kind of
Yeah, I don't think.
Yeah, it got
Also,
cut
I
out.
think that Ryan made a diegetic sound, I believe.
It was more of a
I
It's
think
a
that
little high.
the sound
It's too
compression
high.
is
It's
Yeah.
it's tripping
Yeah.
me out
It's
that I
more of a,
can't
like,
hear it. 'Cause
yeah.
I think it's even
it makes
better.
it scarier.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay.
Oh, it's like a
Okay.
he
Interesting.
he.
Mhm.
Got it.
But very high. So you
I'm
hear
gonna
very high pronounce those. As if the house is. Mhm.
Okay, I'm gonna try and pull the keys and like let's get the heck out of here.
You pull the keys successfully from the jaws, and it snaps off at the tip.
That wasn't the
Did
key
You look
to the
down and you
car, was it?
realize that's your car key. Ho.
Ah! Why did you use the car key?
It was I didn't want to put my fingers near that thing. That was the biggest key I had. What was I
Oh my.
supposed to do?
I
You were
understand. I understand. I get it. I get it. We need to go. Damn the apples. We just need to go. Let's go back to the car. Maybe we can lift the lid and just see if there's something we can do under the hood. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to stay here.
Mads,
You
you
see
notice
the
the doorknob.
doorknob turning. Turning.
Yes.
My God, that's even freakier than
We're so in
the
sync.
game.
We're so in sync.
I take an immediate step back.
Yeah.
Hands
And I'm
up,
like
like,
still with you. I'm like my arm's still
I'm trying to like slightly shield you from whatever. I am a very like slight man, but I am trying to
You're
shield
tall.
you with my yeah, exactly.
And she's tinier. She's like less than 5 feet. So it's like, she's a little slightly behind you, but she still has her arm in yours. And it's like, and she's trying to tug at you too. She's like, we've got to go. Never mind what's behind there. Do you really need to know?
What if they have Becks though?
She stops. But for their doorbell to do that to a key? A metal key?
I'm not saying it's normal.
Nothing's normal. Not right now. All right.
You
And
hear
then
the
she's looking
creaky
Shuffle
sounds
backwards.
of the door slowly opening.
She's looking on the ground for anything, a rock, a branch, something to just
Another step back.
yeah.
As
Does
the
Janice see anything?
I think Janice will see like a rock amidst this grass with the red tips, and then she'll just kind of like lean down, like letting go of Ewan for just a second, and then grab it just to have it in her hand just in case. Toss it, whack it, who knows? But she's gonna have something in her hand.
How long
And
does it take
The rock.
Janice to realize
Go
that the rock is a little bit wet?
Ooh, it's a rotten apple.
I think that it's not only a rotten. I'm gonna sink into this. I think it's not only a rotten apple, but I think the rotten apple has a mouth that's moving.
Oh, I love that.
And she
Hey,
throws it
throw me.
immediately at the door.
Throw
She
me.
throws it at the door.
And it
Whoa.
smashes against it and falls down. Oh, God. Oh, man, you got an arm, lady.
Was
Ewan,
that?
that was an apple.
Ugh.
Come on, we gotta go.
As the door finally
I-
fully opens and you see two individuals, and one of them looks down and says, "Hey, Jerry, you okay down there?" and picks up the apple and
Sorry, we
faces it
took a
towards you.
wrong. We took a wrong turn.
Who are you? I can't make out your face. And as you're looking at this person, you see that they are wearing a mask and that their shoulders also have two masks on them.
Sir, we can barely understand you because of the accoutrement on your face.
Well, then you need to get closer.
That's okay. That's quite all right.
But
we were looking for our dog. For our dog, yes.
Gerald, I'm going to be honest with you. They threw me. I couldn't find my mask, and they threw me, and my whole mouth hurts now.
Jerry, they threw you?
Gerald! They threw me,
No.
Gerald!
I was shocked. I had no idea that would happen.
Well, you don't
I'm
come
sorry.
around somebody's parts and just start throwing things carelessly.
Hey,
I
through me,
didn't mean to.
Gerald.
I didn't mean to. My deepest apologies.
Ewan is taking turns making eye contact with each of the masks that the figure at the door is wearing, because not sure which one is the correct one, but like, I'm so sorry. We didn't mean to throw you. It was a surprise. Can we make it up to you by getting off of your property as quickly as possible?
One of the other voices starts speaking. Tennille, take it away. One of the other masks.
Yes, and so this other figure has a mask, but this mask it's gold. It's actually made of gold, and it's got these really intricate like little spikes all over them. But the sound behind the mask is actually quite sweet, which is very, very different than what you would expect from the way that the mask looks. And the figure looks at you and says, "You were on our property and you hurt our friend. What are you doing here? Why?" Yes, why are you trying to hurt Jerry? Like they didn't do anything to you.
My rotten face.
I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I've never met anyone like your friend before, and we were just looking for our dog. That our dogs got lost, got loose.
You said you're looking for a dog?
Yes.
Specifically, our dog.
We got dogs.
Are any of them named Bex?
That's not how it works around here. As you look towards the door, you start to hear that same yelping you were hearing earlier, and you see coming from between the two figures near the door, beings on 4 legs covered in masks come out, and you see roughly 7 of them.
Roughly.
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 7 of them, you said?
7 beings. Each with 7 beings on 4 legs, each with 3 or 4 masks.
Oh man.
What are you?
The
I don't
mask
think any of them
on
are your dog.
Gerald's left shoulder begins to bark and whine softly.
It's a
And
familiar
the
bark.
sound is similar to Bex.
It's a familiar bark. And
What does it mean?
Ewan just...
Oh yeah, their mask does that sometimes. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
but
this mask really likes DMX. It's the problem.
Yeah, it's a
Well,
bit of a problem.
maybe, they say, as they say, X gonna give it to you. Can I have my dog? Give me my dog, please.
The mask goes, "You think this is a game?"
As you are saying that, I think that Janice, I forgot my character's name. Janice is just like, yelling into the house, through trying to aim it through the masks, and she's just Bex, where are you?
The masks then ask you a question. It says like, "We don't give a what? We don't give a what?" And it then proceeds to tell you to get on the floor.
Hold on. Just getting mixed up here. Hold on.
Are you getting mixed up because they're the Arcadians and we're the terrorists? Because I'm getting mixed up about that too.
Yeah.
fair.
That's what I'm like getting, because I'm trying to think of my one page.
You are the traveler. You can absolutely, and perhaps you
Mhm.
should, contradict what the just happened.
Yes, fair.
Yeah.
Let's push it.
I think okay. I'm not sure if I'm
Whew.
gonna do that. I'm just gonna give you a token, like hands. I'm just gonna.
Mhm.
Okay, here you go. Here's a token. There you go. And
Thank
then
you.
yeah, and then that's one down from our 6. And then I think yeah, we hear the beat starting up again from the masks when Janice calls out for Bex. But I think the beat is more of a like kind of like a staff, like what a major domo would beat, as if to like gain attention. And then we're hearing that from all the mouths of the masks on the house, as
Mm.
if like they're trying to get all of our attention, and it goes completely silent. And it's like in that silence we hear a single bark that may or may not be Bex.
The dogs that came out.
Would you like to?
Four-legged creatures. Go ahead,
Sorry, go ahead.
Tennille.
Would you like to come inside?
The dogs that you saw earlier, the four-legged creatures, start to slowly, single file, go back into the home.
I I just realized that we left the oven on. So perhaps not inside today. And in that process, I think Ewan trips. And he's kind of been slowly skittering backwards, and I think he kind of hits the ground and is just so in awe that he can't figure out how to get himself back up at the moment. He's just
You need some help, Sonny?
Ewan takes a tumble,
Mhm.
Ooh.
but lands in this cushy armchair in the living room. Drinks already set on the table, the ice already starting to melt. How long have you been inside? When did you... How did...
Is Janice there with him or by himself?
Oh, we're all having a nice little rest. A sit in the living room, freshly pressed apple juice.
Cannibalism.
And the figure you saw at the
Hey, that's
door.
not a line.
No, not can. Well,
So this is for
Apple-ism?
you, Cece.
Thank you.
Appleism.
Capitalism.
Oh my god.
Appleism.
I-
The figure you saw at the door is clearly in a long story about their favorite kind of apples, and just keeps talking about how Golden Delicious is just so much better. You just can't compete. It's just the best around.
I-
No.
Is that
Better than
one of?
Fuji. Better than Red.
No, but I would have to
Just-
say that Honeycrisp is pretty high up on that tier.
Oh.
Ewan? No.
No.
Janice,
Yeah.
you see that as you try and get Ewan's attention, Ewan is no longer looking at you and is speaking not only with his mouth full of apple, but is staring almost straight through you, speaking to the mask people, completely engaged in the great apple debate.
And she's like, waving from her position, like in front of his face to see if he sees her at all.
You got to say a type of apple, and then I'll pay attention.
Out of character. That's a great moment.
Macintosh.
So I believe Janice.
Josh.
Yeah, all the masks they just look like eye apples from the 90s. So I believe we've answered the question, right? Like we know it's in the cabin because now y'all are in it.
It's a living room.
At least one person doesn't have, because I have my thing, but Ryan has gotten rid of his.
Okay.
So do we think that we've answered the question?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. So whenever any player feels like they're like, this is the moment, by all means. But let's go from Macintosh. Janice
Yeah.
shouts Macintosh at the top of her lungs.
And
Mhm.
at that, Ewan suddenly almost magnetically snaps eye contact and is like, Oh, that's a decent apple. I don't know that I'd put it at the top of that tier, but it's a pretty
Ewan.
good apple.
Ewan, we're in the House of the Masks. Wake up, boy.
They gave me apple juice. What was I supposed
Apple
to do?
juice? You
Would
you
like
had food from here?
Would you like some juice?
This is my third glass.
Yeah, so much.
And I
Oh, we
toss
gotta
it back
fade.
like a shot.
We gotta fade. We gotta fade
Yeah.
from there, yeah, because
Mhm.
I think that's a perfect,
All right.
perfect scene closure.
Like on the shot.
Yeah, just
All right, so the shot goes, and I think the camera, we're gonna literally dive down Ewan's mouth with the
Yep.
apple
Nice.
juice into black.
Yay.
All right, that's how you play a chapter.
It's amazing.
So a check-in about a couple things,
Mhm.
right? John has no control over when the stream ends, but some of you might. I don't know. Do we have a hard out for anybody? Other than that, do we want to play one more chapter, two more chapters? Like, I don't want to hold anybody hostage. And of course, rules is written. That's what this is for. Like, what kind of chapter do we want to have? And do we want to end? Do we do whatever? So where's everybody feeling? This is as players, a player check-in.
Given our
So
I
pace,
think
have
a minimum
a
we need
hard
one
out
more,
in
right?
30 minutes.
Yeah.
I have a hard out
In 30 minutes? Okay. So do we want to like talk, or do we want to do a fast as fast as possible last chapter?
Oh, do we want to go for like a full terror chapter? Like, really
yeah,
ramp
let's
up
do
the
a
shit?
terror chapter and
Great, love it. Okay, so that means that travelers, you get 1 token each. Arcadians, you have 2 each. And hey Ryan, don't worry. Only you and I can hear this. Nobody else can hear me say this. We get 3 each. That's right. So, now we are responsible for the music. We are responsible for the opening narration. And finally, we ask the question. We control the vertical. We control the horizontal. And same rules apply. Contradiction works the same way. We're all, as players, trying to answer the question. Once the question has been answered, once one roll has no change, player calls for fade out. When all 3 are true, that's the end of the chapter. Right, guy. I see your gears. I see your gears shifting, my man.
I think I have a bit of a vision of something, of a place to start. I have utmost trust in you, so
You as well?
you will. I know you will jump in at the right time,
Great.
and we'll just it's gonna be incredible.
Give us a ride.
So the thing that I kind of talk about wobbly time, is it immediately after? Is there time past? We can leave that vague. Sometimes it demands dramatically that you kind of pick up more or less. Sometimes it's, we might have gotten to your car and it might be traveling down the road and it'd be a different chapter. I feel like that's not this. So
No.
I'm just gonna let Ryan do the opening here. Do you have a piece of music, or would you like me to start
Oh
off
yeah,
with music?
I've got some music.
Okay, so describe the music, jump into the narration. We'll dual solo it. And the thing about Traveler narrations, Traveler and Terror, is they're in first person, which is different from a Arcadian's opening narration. So, right guy, whenever you're ready.
Penny blues guitar, slightly out of tune, just a little bit dissonant. Plays a couple of chords, and there's a raspy singing that comes in. Oh man, ding, da, ding, dum, da, dum. I'm just a sitting here, dum, da, dum, dum, with a glass in my hand.
There's this echoing slow clap that accompanies the thinnest, briefest amount of percussion that seems to have a vague echo throughout the guitar sound.
The music takes on this tone like it's underwater as the sound starts to distort and drip and melt away, sloughing off into the ether. In the kitchen, I carefully, precisely take my paring knife and etch the suggestion of a mouth into an apple. Not quite there. But at the tiniest pinprick of that knife, juice bursts forward. And the mouth almost rights itself, dissolving the bits of flesh and skin dripping down like it's just taken a bite out of itself, and the juice drips down my hand, and I look at it and smile. We will
A
eat
trick is
tonight.
played. Oh, you eat tonight? The brain plays a trick. First, the face of the apple. Nothing. Blank. A line made with the knife. No longer a line, transformed in your mind. It's not a line. It's a mouth. Simple line, your brain doing all the work, and when that thought bursts in, the line begins to move and give in life.
I look up, look at the 7 beasts prowling the room. I listen to the laughter from the other room. I hear a call of Macintosh. And I can't help but wonder, will they be joining us for dinner?
The mouth on the apple splits open and speaks for the first time. Well, let them in.
A few steps on creaky floorboards and the door opens. There's a discussion of tier lists, quality of apples. As I
A
waddle
cacophony
out,
of S tier, are you mad? Echo throughout the back end.
and I waddle out, holding this newly formed face in my hand, and speaking from it, I say, well, who are these fine people to come and visit us at our humble little home?
The masked figure with the mask on the head and the shoulders, picks up Jerry, places him on a stick, and sits him with the other line of apples and faces all lining the center banister. And they all start to groan and hiss and slowly wake up, muttering to each other.
I am sitting in my chair with my back as ramrod straight as possible with tension as I just got Ewan's attention and saying for him to wake up. And then I hear the creak of the door and I slowly turn my head to look at the strangeness, the abomination, the darkness of whatever has come through, and see the apple heads and hear them speak and moan. And I'm just keeping my eyes back onto Ewan and saying, we need to wake up. Bex is not here.
The
And
figure with the golden mask looks to the place where all those apples are in a line and says, we're preparing someone. They've already had 3 glasses of the juice.
Ewan is kind of surveying the scene, still with a half goofy smile on his face. Looks around and goes, as long as we can all agree that Granny Smith is at the bottom of this pyramid, I'm cool with anything. And then turns and sees this shape having walked from the kitchen and is immediately no longer in his trance. Sobered up right away and terrified. Oh,
Nope.
thank you.
You turn to the figure and you smile and you slosh your glass of juice, which you can see has apples floating and melting in the center like ice cubes.
And what a
And you
lovely
slow and you
smile it is.
And a big
And Janice will react as fast as she possibly can as he's knocking that one back, and then like try to slap it out of his hand.
do you
No,
slap it out of your hand? Do you?
I do.
Yes.
I mean, like like in the middle of it. Yeah, I think Janet. I think I do. I do.
I think the
And
glass flies to the side of the room, perhaps hits the wall, and you can see the juice as it hits the ground, but it's not quite spilling the way that liquid is supposed to. It's a little bit more oozy, I think.
I think she will jump out of her chair at that point, and we see it drip, like ooze down, and Janice immediately takes the stance of, now, mind you, her standing is probably at the same height as you sitting. But anyway, I think she's just like kind of like, doing a shield motion, against you, against all of these creatures, and saying, no, no,
No.
he is not yours.
No,
He
no,
is
Janice.
not yours.
No, Janice. The figure with the 3 masks is bent down and collected the oozy apple liquid back into a glass and is bring it. Now, Janice, you sat with us. You're Macintosh. Just have some juice.
No, 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 you're not.
No, it's just a mistake. A little bit of spilt juice is nothing to fall to pieces about.
It's still delicious.
Golden delicious.
I feel like that's a Greek chorus. Sorry.
I mean, the masks.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay, yeah. The whole inside of this room, mostly the ceiling, just inch to inch, just absolutely covered in masks. All of them all say "golden delicious" in the same tone at the same time.
I take a few slow, plodding steps, my cane coming with me. Just a hunched figure. Almost. My face is so gaunt, it's almost more mouth than anything else. I take a few steps closer over to Ewan, and I reach a hand that looks like dried apple. And I just kind of trace along the side of his face. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
She tries to slap
Thing.
it away. No, no, no. You don't touch him. You don't touch him at all. Okay.
You go slap. But you can't slap when your hand is full of a glass of delicious juice. Why not have a sip? Your mouth is dry,
So
ashy.
So ashy. All of the masks on the ceiling, all in unison, go Macintosh.
Macintosh. Macintosh.
Macintosh.
Macintosh.
Slow and like
Macintosh.
I slowly bring the juice up to my lips, and then I see through the juice, as somewhat oozy and syrupy as it is, I see Ewan's face. And I look, it's like, and as it's perched on my lip, I'm saying to him, "Are you sure you want me to do this? You want me to do this?"
I think that's kind of a moment that makes Ewan's mind kind of clear up a bit. And he blinks and reaches out to take the glass from you. I
You need
don't.
to leave.
And this is as Ewan looks, he notices the not quite liquid that's in the glass and is like, I think you're right, and reaches to set the glass on the coffee table.
I take your hand and say, whatever happens here, whatever happens now, I thank you.
The figure in the gold mask says, "Aren't you here for a reason?
The mask starts
Wasn't there
yelping.
someone that you were looking for?"
The
This
mask
is,
starts barking.
yes, yes. I, I look at all the masks, take it all in as I still am clutching Ewan's hands in mine. Yes, we are looking for our dog. Don't know
And you
where we
think
are,
The
but we need
me?
to get.
the figure in the three masks sticks its fingers underneath the mask on its left shoulder, peels it off, and hands it to you in two hands as it continues to bark.
Do
And
we?
beneath that mask, the shoulder looks like layers and layers of apple skin.
It's
Gross.
rippling slightly.
Yeah, rippling apple skin. Yeah. Golden delicious, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
Only way.
Obviously. The only S tier apple. No.
I think as we're holding this mask, that's probably doing the yelp. I think I look up and I see a door that's made of what looks like withered bark of an apple tree,
Bark.
and I can start to see the gleam of the frame of maybe perhaps sun and the outside.
You notice this, yes, and you notice this door is still fleshy, and you see it have like almost rotten apple like insides surrounding this door, and being the essence of what makes it solid.
But that same apple flesh, as it starts to rot, is oozing its way down in these kind of dark brown streaks.
Mm.
The door has a mouth, a very tiny mouth, right where the doorbell should be. And it opens its mouth impossibly wide and says, "Don't you want to stay for dinner?"
Stay.
Stay. Putting out plates.
Macintosh.
3
Macintosh.
glasses of juice per person.
Stay,
There's more than
Macintosh.
enough to go around.
Mm-hmm.
Macintosh.
Macintosh.
think
I
oh, I was gonna say, I think the mask that you were handed,
Mhm.
it continues to bark just a little bit in the background. We hear a little bit of like just a sad puppy noise. And at that moment, as we look at this table full of food and apples and apple juice and pies and whatever else you can make out of apples, and I look at the mask and I look at Janice. I never had a dog. We came here for a we don't have a dog.
Been a trick from the beginning?
The mask is more particularly yelping at you and is calling towards you.
The leash that I had when we were outside is gone.
Mm.
You're forgetting. No. No, no, no. 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 We had
Well,
your dog.
You know
You
what a mask is
feel
for. It's for wearing.
yes. You
Oh,
feel the like inside of your mouth is incredibly dry. And you remember how warm this day is and how thirsty you are. Your stomach starts to growl as you see and you can smell the apple butter and the apple honey and the apple biscuits and the delicious apples. Like the fragrance just comes, just fills the whole house. Just every breath you take just smells of deliciousness, just
And the
luring you
smell,
in.
the source of the smell, as you close your eyes, Ewan, is right in the center of that mask. You could almost taste it if you could just get it a little closer.
Ewan reaches out to try and take the mask from Janice.
And then I think I scream, and then I will throw the mask and bash it against the door.
You hand Ewan the mask.
Goodness.
I think in your mind's eye, you see yourself smashing it. You
Yeah.
see it
Oh,
all
that's
happen.
all implied by these things. That you have these flashes of things that never were.
Yeah.
But what really
Ah,
happens? Mm-hmm.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah.
Layers in this apple pie.
I'm seeing the end of Descent. Thank you. All right.
Delicious
Yeah.
layers of apple pie. I love it.
So I think I'm smashing through, but then I end up, instead of smashing through, I'm actually putting the mask on Ewan's face.
Oh. I think that answers the question that you're staying for dinner. I think the answer is yes.
Oh.
Yeah, and I'm out of my token. So
And I'm gonna call for a fade out. I think that
Mhm.
that's the answer to the question. I think the answer is yes, you do stay for dinner. Whatever that is, who
Oh,
knows?
who knows?
But with 3 minutes left, I'll have everybody. I'll close the magic circle. I'll have everybody takes a few deep breaths. Maybe everybody go around. I would love a moment for everybody to give a moment of gratitude. Um, go around and say something that they appreciated about that another moment that another player brought into the game. That's going to be our last ritual to kind of take some deep breaths. It was getting very tense there at the end, right? And I love an intro and outro. I wish we could have a good like 20-minute talk, but Tennille has to run at 4. So no order. Anybody that feels like there's something that they want to shout out for another player, please. And we'll
I've
go
got
around and
something.
then
I
yeah,
took the
Ryan.
time to write it down because it was incredible. Um, Hans, you were in the middle of this great narration exposition, and you introduced a new character, and then just said, "Tennille, take it away." And it was this incredible passing of the spotlight. Like you set her up with all this great stuff, and you're like, okay, now just run with it. And it was this incredible collaborative moment that felt super organic, but just it was fantastic. I loved it.
Mm. Thank you. I want to give some flowers towards our Janice, Matt, you just did such a great job of keeping us grounded and being the person that we were like actively converting. You were just so good in the last scene, and you were excellent in the beginning. I just love the way you role played that. It was so good.
Such a wonderful yelling at your nephew. Like you had one thing that I died. You were like that button. Where I had a flashback to like every auntie I've ever had like yelling at me, and I'm like, sorry, auntie.
So two things. Um, the apples were my idea, and I feel like I just absolutely love the way like my one idea just became like a full-on theme of the whole story, and how it just really transformed in so many ways, and it was just absolutely beautiful and breathtaking. Um, and I love the fact that Cece brought in that idea that there wasn't a dog. Like I love that so much because, you know, as an animal lover, I'm like, oh no, what's gonna happen to the dog? But it's like, oh, there wasn't a dog. I love that. I love the way that came out, and that was just fantastic. And everybody's acting and role playing was beautiful.
Yeah.
Bravo, chef's kiss.
Yeah, I think
Um,
everybody did a phenomenal job kind of building off of each other.
Yeah.
Just starting with that apple piece and building from there to have
mhm.
like apple people and apple juice and all of it was so good. I love
Um,
it.
I
Well,
also
it,
want
like
to.
it. Sorry,
Oh,
I
I
just
just
think
wanted to double
that
down on what Tennille said. Um, like I thought that was such a powerful way to use a line towards our benefit to make that there was no animal to begin
Yeah.
with, and that was exactly the perfect way to use it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I will
I
be
was
here for more than a day trying to give all the stars for the ones that I remember and for the vibes that I got. My God, everybody did such a fabulous job. But I will say that one moment where everybody was pitching in of all the things that were heard, the masks were calling out, Macintosh, Golden Delicious, this was happening and that was happening, and it just created this encapsulated moment for us. I believe as travelers like CC that we were just like, the fuck do we do now? And it was just like, sorry, I dropped the F bomb. But anyway,
It's
I mean,
fine.
it
It's
was just
fine.
such a
It's the appropriate time.
beautiful, beautiful collaborative moment of like everybody just pitching in and then Greek chorusing everything. It was just gorgeous. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Stars.
Yeah. There's so many wonderful moments. I do want to call out Cece your how grounded and willing you were to throw in the first half. You were resisting, you were trying to get back, and then the choice in the middle of the new chapter playing in and arguing about the apples, and then the dog. You made bold choices throughout, and as a traveler, which is the most like a PC, people tend to be timid because what I'm trying to do is get people to realize they have agency in it, and you were fabulous. You knocked it out of the park. You were a great traveler, and I'm so happy that that's the role you picked.
Thank you. Everyone did really great in all of their roles. So thanks so much for
Mhm.
all the collaboration there.
Mhm.
Truly
Um,
a wonderful game,
mhm.
Graham. Absolutely.
Thank
So
you, thank you. Yes, this was wonderful. So, yeah, I've been Graham Gentz, and this is Under the Autumn Strangely. I have an itch page, which is grahamgentz.itch.io. And any day now, I'm going to get an update because Indie Press Revolution is going to carry my stuff, which is something I've been working towards for a number of years. And this is the first time ever. I am overwhelmed, and I feel so grateful and so happy that when you put my name in IPR, something I've written is going to come up, which I'm still processing because it feels amazing. Hans, how do you interact with people on the internet? And then knock to somebody else.
I interact with the people on the internet via Serpontius on Instagram, and then feel free to just like, yeah, come to also interact with like Word Bookstores, which is the bookstore I love and work at, and also I'm trying to bring more indie RPGs too. So send an email over that way, and we'll get some stuff done. Anyway, do that, and I'm gonna toss it over to Mads. Go ahead.
thank you. Again, Mads, and I'm found at Madeline Colley on YouTube. as well as on Discord and also X, which I'm barely on, but like Discord and YouTube for definite sure. Like, watch some of the stuff and check out some other games that I have on. And yeah, I'll be posting a lot of backlog on that channel. So yeah, hope to hear from you, hear from everybody soon. Oh, and if anybody's going to PAX Unplugged next
Yes.
week, oh my God, yeah,
Oh,
I'll be
yeah.
there. Oh, let me pop it over to Neil.
All right. Hello, my name is Tennille Evans Reno. I'm a therapist. You can find me at journeygrouptherapy.com and send me an email. I also support the Bodhana group, and I've got the website there too. Thank you so much for listening and being great listeners. And I will pass it over to Cece.
Hi, I'm Cece. I can be found on the interwebs anywhere, basically everywhere. I'm all over the place. At C Silencio. Always happy to jump in, play fun games with everybody. And I'm really good at pep talk, so if anyone needs one of those, call me. And I'll
call
pass
you.
it over to Ryan.
I am Ryan, also known online as the one true Ryan Kahn, because the name is actually really, really common. But you can find my stuff at rcon.itch.io, and I've been on Blue Sky experimenting with that platform, and over there I am true Ryan Kahn. So yeah, let's talk about games and stuff.
So yes, I'm happy that we got a PAX Unplugged shout out if you're on the East Coast or traveling for that. I like PAX Unplugged a lot. I won't be there, but my books will. And there's lots of events, so I find that the capitalism part tends to be less, and people doing stuff and having community, and it's a lot easier to find that community, and I like it a lot. And next week, because instead of being at PAX Unplugged, I'm going to be here for the charity games running for the IGDN Diversity Awards. So trying to get people to get more game designers from more backgrounds to get that stuff. So I think I'm playing Necrobiotic, written by my good friend Mitch. I'm going to see if I can be a small weird spider. We're gonna find out, or maybe I won't. Maybe it'll get X-carded, and I'll be a scorpion instead. John, wherever you are, if you can hear me, it's been great. Mask off. John is great. This channel is great. And please support it in all of its endeavors. Play some awesome games. This has been fun. I'm so grateful. Thank you everybody for being here. Thank you for John for making it work, even though I've imprisoned you indefinitely. And we'll see everybody the next time, I guess.